Welcome, everyone, to It Tastes Different Gaming Appetizers. In this episode, I'm going to ask you guys a question. Did you guys know that we are the cause of the next pandemic? According to the Telegraph, gaming is the next pandemic. How they put two and two together is beyond me, but basically there's a lot of backlash coming out about this article, the Telegraph. It all started basically with the Telegraph interviewing the Chinese state media, because they're called gaming a spiritual opium. But I think China was more talking about online gambling than regular video gaming from reading the article. But the way that the Telegraph pushed it out was basically demonizing regular video gaming and the next pandemic. So it was kind of a really weird segue, if you will, into how games are bad, because they brought up things from, illegal Grand Theft Auto stuff because of carjacking. It's just, they brought up all kinds of crap about unregulated video games and video game creations, and a lot of stuff was centered around Grand Theft Auto. Imagine that. We just talked about that, and there's something else about them. So what do you guys think about this article? Did you have time to go through a good chunk of it, or what do you think about them demonizing video gamers, saying we're going to be the cause of the next pandemic? I guess I don't get what they're trying to say to some extent. Are we all going to quit work and just sit at home and play video games and to turn into some creature off of the outer worlds or something? Shane, what do you think about this, man?
Hey, Telegraph, did you see that coming? I don't think you did. It's ridiculous. It is another article that doesn't have any basis on fact. It is a gotcha article, which we've talked about another one here recently. So it's sad and it's pathetic. I understand what China's thinking about gambling. That's a different thing. Granted, there are people that play too much games, but I have never offered a Haley J in an alley for Mario Kart. Again, the problem with this article is the way they manipulated the intent of what China was talking about into their article, and they made it about the gaming as a whole, like you said, and it's sad, but this is what we see a lot of, especially here in the States. The Florida governor, I believe it was the Florida governor or a senator, I can't remember which, so I don't want to misspeak, but one of them said, anime was porn, video games caused people to commit crimes, and these people can suck a butthole. I mean, doctors are saying that's not true. Video games build up many, many things, especially online gaming has been known to build up, kids' confidences and stuff like that in approaching new people. So it's bad. It's a bad article. It's put out with bad intent, in my opinion. What about you, Nick?
Yeah, this is your brain. The article is your brain on drugs. And we've done this before. We've gone over this before. Back in the day with Mortal Kombat, and then the first Grand Theft Auto, and all. These articles and this whole ring around the rosy of this bashing video games for being this the step into the crime syndicate. We've gone through this before, and every single time, they have shown that that it's not a gateway to bad behavior, right? If they talk about gambling and stuff like that, yes, games do have gambling, but they also have a place called a casino that has tons of gambling. So people will gamble with all sorts of things. People gamble with football. People gamble on there's probably people that gambled on the Olympics, that's going on. People gamble with all sorts of stuff. So gambling in itself could be, and it's not to criticize the casinos or various other things like that, but gambling can become a problem. Gaming can become a problem too if that's all you're doing and you're not taking care of your responsibilities in life. But that doesn't just go for gambling or gaming, or that can go for a lot of different things. A lot of people have a lot of different hobbies, and to just pick one like video gaming and saying this one's bad because of XYZ, come on, you're not really showing why it's bad, and they say, like Patrick said, unregulated. No, they're very regulated. We did one of our older videos talking about the ESRB, and the UK has the PEGI system, and other countries have different rating boards and the regulations and various things like that. And Australia is one that doesn't typically, they're a little bit more strict on theirs, right? A lot of games have had to change certain scenes and certain aspects, and some games just don't release in Australia because of just having too much bad material in them, or what Australia deems bad, from their ratings boards and stuff. So there's plenty of things out there, and really what they're stemming from, what I feel like, is just those individuals that may have, it's not really the games, they have a disorder in the sense of a health disorder, mental health, and stuff like that, just addiction to any form of anything, really. So, don't sit there and demonize video games and other forms of things. We need to look at these in a more logical, more medical way to see, why does that person sit in the, in the computer cafe for, a week straight, not eating and drinking, right? There's something clearly wrong with that. The people at the cafe should definitely regulate that, but there need to be things in place so that people don't do that. And, if they need help, they can get it, right? And that's the main thing. So, yeah, screw articles like this. We've gone down this road before. I'm tired of hearing about it. Let's actually, if we're going to make a difference, let's make a difference and not just start spewing crap all the time.
Right. And I'll just point out a couple of things in the article that we can kind of discuss. But basically, the reason that they kind of point it as a spiritual opium type thing, because they're basically saying, they're comparing it to the opioid crisis. They're basically saying that children are now growing up with screen time, basically smartphones, tablets, iPads. In school, they get Chromebooks and all that kind of crap. And they're saying that it's potentially harmful to young brains, teenage brains specifically. And they're saying gaming is picked out as particularly addictive form of screen time. And the piece states it's time for us all to wake up to the opioid possibility of gaming before teenage screen addiction becomes another global pandemic. I don't see this. I mean, my child, I have a 10-year-old child, and she has grown up on screen time. I mean, she's had screens since she was a kid. I've given her an Xbox at an early age. She's had an iPad. I bought her a little bitty one of those Amazon pads that had like the kids time thing on it. So all these kids games and readings and book. And you know what? I find my kid doing a lot of times reading a damn book. Will you imagine that? She's got all this screen time and she'd rather read a book. And that's what I see with a lot of kids, especially because there's not like we are. When we were all kids, I'm pretty sure it's the same with all of you. Parents practically kicked your ass out the door once breakfast was over and be like, come home when the street lights are on, And so that's a different time. I mean, we did all this outside stuff, but I honestly feel like my child has a firmer grasp on things that I didn't have a grasp on her age. And I'm sure it changed with every generation. Those things that I learned, my parents had no grasp or concept on, and things they learned, their parents had. It's just a change of the way that information is delivered. When I see my child playing on games, she's playing stuff like weird. She's playing Minecraft and stuff related to that. And every time I come in there, I'm like, what are you doing? She's like, I'm playing Minecraft. I'm like, don't you ever get bored with that? She's like, no, I'm making pixel art. Or she's doing something. They're not just mindlessly clicking buttons and stuff. So I don't understand where they're thinking that screen time is damaging their brains, unless they're saying the lights or something off of the thing damage their brain. In my opinion, how many times have you seen exercise your brain, play these memory games or play this game? So what they're saying is one of these schools of thoughts is lying. So exercising your brain by looking at memory and pattern and picking things out is good for you, or too much screen time is bad for you. So who is right? If my kid's playing this game and memorizing and doing hand-eye coordination, is that good or bad for them?
Yeah, you're definitely not wrong. I mean, I've got 3 kids, different age ranges. I've got 19, getting ready to hit 14, and 10. All grown up with, computers, laptops, game consoles. All of my kids' reading levels are beyond anything mine ever was at any age in my life. Their grades are better than mine were at any age in my life as well. They read a lot. But my kids, I raise them my way. I don't raise them on tablets. I raise them with tablets. I raise them with game consoles. If I don't want them playing, it's like I limit their YouTube ability. They're only allowed to watch YouTube so much in a day because YouTube has some really cool stuff. And then they have some dumbass shit. The dumbass stuff is usually more popular and can be funny. But that's to each his own opinion. My kids they don't play games 24/7. School has been out for summer break. I guarantee, my son and Nick's son, they play games together. They probably play a couple hours in the evening while school's out and a couple hours during the day. And that's it. The rest of the time, my son's putting puzzles together because he loves puzzles. He'll be watching movies or whatnot. I've been introducing him to old school movies that he's been really getting into, like Goonies and stuff. So I raise my kids. Tablets don't. Video games don't. I raise my kids. I let my kids play bloody games. You know why? Because they're not idiots. I mean, plain and simple. They're not idiots. I raise my kids smart. They understand reality. They understand what's fake. And that's the problem with our society anymore. And the whole damn world is people want to pretend the fake stuff is real. And it's getting sad. But that's where articles like this come in. And, somebody's got to put a stop to this kind of crap, really. And it's just the way it is. I believe you have the right to speak. You should have the right to say what you want. But when it comes to the point where you're harming people with BS, that's when I have to draw the line.
Yeah. And I don't believe this was, I may be wrong. You guys can correct me if I am. I don't believe this was an opinion piece.
You're wrong.
So, if it was an opinion piece, then it's like, that's fine. That's your opinion, right? But this seemed to be put out as an actual, just straight up article, so really they're just trying to, really they're just trying to sway people or put out their own spin on something, right? They put out, there's not very many like solid facts in here. There's some things talking about certain things here and there, and they're just trying to spin a narrative, really. A narrative that they can get back onto where, probably some legislator could come out and see and put something forth in the video game term because of this article, right? It backs them up, and that's really kind of, that may be, that's speculating, but that could be where it's coming from. But yeah, I mean, they're basically just trying to spin a narrative, and they're trying to make everybody want to jump on the bandwagon with them. And, hopefully we don't go down that route. I mean, you talk about screen time. I mean, you can say that for anything. Like, oh, well, my kid doesn't play video games, but he watches movies all the time. Okay, well, here we go. Here comes another article, about, or whatever. It's like, yeah, I mean, there's lots of forms of media out there besides video games that can influence people in certain ways, right? They could have an influence in people in certain ways. And but we do have those regulations and those rating systems and various other things that are out there to inform you as the parent, inform you as the purchaser, and inform those that are looking into this type of stuff what to expect from it, right? So as long as you take that into consideration as an individual or as a parent or whatever, then you're going to be fine. It's the same as a movie. If you think you can take your kid to a radar movie and they're going to be fine, go for it. If not, then, don't. Kids can't get into radar movies, or at least not supposed to, right? So it's the same thing. Kids can't go and buy Grand Theft Auto off the shelf, right? It's rated M for mature. You have to either have your parent buy it or someone who's 18 years or older purchase it for you. So there are safeguards in place to make sure that everybody can't get access to the things that they think in this article they can get access to, right? Someone has to give them access to it. Some kids are smarter than others, and they can work out some way of getting something. But, most of the time they are going to, hopefully listen to their parents and the elders and various things like that and not do these things. So, yeah, I mean, it's just about raising kids and raising the generation. And just like Patrick said, it's just a newer generation. I mean, things going on now are not how they were when we were kids, right? When we were younger, they didn't have mobile phones, right? The closest thing to a mobile phone was that big box inside the van that you ripped open the pouch and it had that big landline thing, and my grandparents had one of those, right? Or when the first cordless phones came out, my aunt had one of those big blocky things, the giant antenna sticking out of it. I remember that, so times have changed, and if an older society can't get with the times, then maybe that's the problem.
It's all this article was about clicks, and that is it.
That's what I was going to say. The article was sensationalized because I'll just point out a couple of things before we wrap it up here. Was basically they put about a bunch of false numbers. So they basically claim like 86 million people, I think, were addicted So let's just put it this way. The World Health Organization does have a gaming disorder. They have a gaming disorder clause. According to the Freedom of Information request, 56 people in the UK, which this article is written in the UK, entered treatment for gaming addiction last year. 56 out of 40 million people. And those are people that went into this thing. So the article is claiming 86 million, so basically double the population of the UK where they're at. So sensationalizing. And they also decided that they were going to interview an author of a fictional book. I'm going to put out the word fictional book called The Midas Game, which is a story about two lawyers defending a gamer and a YouTube celebrity accused of killing an anti-gaming psychiatrist. Abby Silver basically said this in the article: "I was shocked and indignant that there was something out there unregulated and freely available to our kids, which was considered highly dangerous, but nobody was doing anything about it. It was like somebody was coming into my son's bedroom at night and then injecting him with an addictive drug." Lady, what are you on? She basically said her son was obsessed with addictive dopamine releasing game Fortnite. And I'm like, he's a kid. You control how much game time he plays. If you don't like the game, don't let him play it. But it's a game. Kids do things because it's fun. Fun releases dopamine. Whether it's riding bikes with your friends, doing stupid kid stuff in the neighborhood like when we were kids, or playing a fun, exciting game on your console or PC with your friends, it's all going to release dopamine. Dopamine is what happens when you're excited and fun. Whether you're reading that book, whether you're playing that game, whether you're running with friends, whether you're petting a new dog or whatever. So I guess you need to outlaw dogs, bike ridings, hanging out with your friends. All you can do is sit in the corner with your dunce hat, Abby, because you don't know what dopamine does and how it gets out there. You need to stop writing books because you're scaring people for no reason because you don't have half a brain.
Yeah. And I mean, that's ridiculous. Everything you do releases an amount of dopamine, depending on the activity. I mean, happy time rub and tug, that's going to release dopamine, but you're going to ban that shit too?
Yeah, you can't let a little boy can't be doing that.
My God. Then what the hell would I have done with myself at 12?
Right, exactly. I think we're probably going to go on and on about this if we let it.
So screw Abby.
In light of keeping this short, Abby, find a new hobby. Let your kid play some games or go play with your friends. But you're damaging your kid by releasing a book like this because he's going to become 20 years old and like, didn't your mom write about how you couldn't do anything because it released too much dopamine and you couldn't handle it? So, in light of time, we're going to cut this one short. Just say that, this article is pretty slanderous and full of garbage and loopholes and sensationalized. Anybody got some final short words they want to say on this one before we cut it out?
Abby needs to get laid and quit writing articles for clicks. Speaking of clicks, don't forget to click like and subscribe.
All right, everybody. We hope you enjoyed this episode, and hopefully you can read that article from the Telegraph, because I sure can't, because they want us to pay for it because print is dead, and all they knew how to do was print a newspaper before. So we hope you guys like this episode. Let us know what your thoughts are on this in the comments. Whether we wear off base, whether you agree with this article, let us know. We like dissenting and same opinions. We're not a sounding board. So go ahead and like and comment, like and subscribe to our channel as well. So we hope you guys enjoyed this episode, and we hope to catch you in the next one.
See ya.